Good evening. I want to call this meeting to order. I'm Dr. Garcia. I'm the Vice Chair of the POB.
If you could also take a look at the chart that is entitled March 17 concerning vehicle crashes. I think there was some confusion perhaps last month. And so our data analyst provided this chart for you, and it breaks down the actual crashes by type. So for instance, out of the total number of crashes, 35 of those, the majority of them were considered non-preventable, meaning that there was a review and the review board concluded that the officer could not have avoided that accident based on his or her actions. 15 of those were considered preventable, meaning that the officer was found at fault by striking another vehicle. 12 where the officer was found at fault by striking an inanimate object, and 4 where the officer was at some fault for being involved in an accident where they were actually struck by another vehicle. And that concludes the data presentation. If you have any questions, I'd take those now.
I do.
Mr. Waits and then Mr. Jaramillo.
I have maybe a couple questions. Do you have any data for April? I know you're showing March as your graph. And I also see that you have 0 crashes for April.
Oh, correct.
Are you telling me
I do have
that-
some crash information for April, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I do have some crash information for April. It was on a different chart, so I neglected to present that to you. It should be on the second page, or at least it's on my paperwork, it's on the second page. For April, there were 16 vehicle crashes that were closed, and it appears that all 16 of those were ruled preventable. We didn't receive any new vehicle crashes during the month of April.
You did not?
No.
So 0 for April.
Which doesn't mean that 0 accidents occurred during April, it just means that Internal Affairs didn't receive any reviews at that time. So they may be still pending accident review board. In regards to the the early intervention system, there were 22 alerts that were distributed during the month of April. And pending cases for the month of April, it's indicating that 3 cases are still open.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Am I counting right? Were there 66 cases in total?
For March,
For March, yeah. The 12 for,
I would have to just do the math, same as you in my head. It appears to be 66, yes.
66. And the non-preventable ones, in regards to the officers, this is showing the actual crashes, correct?
I'd have to refer to my data analyst. Your question is,
Well, first of all, that's 66. I guess my adding is right. 66 crashes in March 2017. Correct.
I don't actually know if that, I believe that is the number of crashes that were closed. I don't know that that's the actual number of crashes that occurred in that month.
Mr. Arvijo, do you have another question about that? 'Cause
No, I was
I'm kind of
just
trying to follow you. I think I'm catching on to what you're saying.
Yeah, I was just confused as to what, are these preventable crashes? Were these all closed crashes or not closed crashes, or what were they? I was just a little confused on that.
We don't have the data that hasn't occurred in March yet.
Okay, so Chair Garcia, board members, these are crashes that were closed in the month of March, not the actual number of crashes. We don't have that data to present to you, but we could probably get that.
Okay, that's a little good.
It's different.
Is that sufficient for you?
I have a question.
Dr. Brown?
I was wondering, the crash review board, is it part of IA or where does it sit in the APD organization?
Chair Garcia and Board Member Brown, No, that's not a part of IA. It's a separate board within APD. And I believe that it falls under the jurisdiction of the Traffic Division. And then they provide their findings to the department as a whole and to IA.
From recent, lawsuit that was settled and from a recent accident, I was just wondering about whether this review board should be part of IA to really, spend maybe more time looking at the crashes. Maybe they're looking at them just fine. I mean, I just have no idea, but it just has struck me that IA is really the investigatory branch of APD, and I.
Chair Garcia, Board Member Fine.
And
or
also,
Board Member Brown.
when we tried to
Apologize.
get information, it was scattered everywhere when we tried to look at crashes. And I think IA is in a position, or has been in a position, to coordinate investigations. So that's part two of my concern, yeah.
So the way the process works is all the crashes are reviewed by the Crash Review Board. Then those findings are sent to Internal Affairs, and then the findings, and as well as whether or not there is a previous crash during that 12-month time period, that information is compiled by IA, and then it's sent to the individual's area command or division to then decide upon any disciplinary action. And in most all cases, there is some form of disciplinary action. If it is a more advanced case, obviously involving fatality or serious injury, then those cases are often referred to Internal Affairs to do a more complete investigation.
But not always. It's, no.
Not always when there's
It's just that we had trouble finding out, when vehicles were towed, and we know that when they're towed, then that kicks in drug and alcohol testing, et cetera. And so, I was just wondering about the coordination of it all. Do you have any do you feel it's coordinated well enough at this point in time?
Chair Garcia and Board Member Brown, I feel that having a separate entity like the Crash Review Board to really look at each accident in the depth that they do and have the officers there to testify is beneficial, because if Internal Affairs were to take on that endeavor, you're talking about a great number of additional cases we would have to take on. So I think that having a crash review board with people that are experts in the field is probably more beneficial.
Commander McCray, I guess I have a question about it, because it's hard to separate all that out, because we do have a responsibility to the public, and it does spur a lot of questions in terms of resource and use of public money, and is this number kind of usual for cities of the same size? So maybe we're not asking the question, in a nice detailed way, but it certainly leaves us, I feel that we need to be able to answer that to the public, just as APD might, and maybe we're going around the edges of what the question might really be, but all those things come to mind. Is how do we answer to that? How do we answer to our community that says, well, sure, we have, 53 crashes on X week, month, whatever. I think that, it's kind of a frightening cost, human life and money and resources and so on. So I think that's why you're getting the questions. It's not so much that we want to put you on the spot.
Sure.
But we really want to know, well, is there something we should be doing?
Chair Garcia and board members, I can tell you two things. One is that Internal Affairs on its own several months ago initiated the process of conducting a study with similar sized departments in the region, and we were anticipating on having that information This month, however, several of the departments that we're working with have asked for more time to compile that data for us. So we are doing a comparison study to compare our particular statistics to other departments of a similar size. I do also know that the risk management component of the city does conduct I believe it's an annual review of crashes, and they compile certain data as well.
Dr. Brown, do you have anything else?
Oh, I was just, I really appreciate that there's a study going to be going on. And I guess the group that I'm most interested in is really the investigation of the preventable ones that are towed particularly. So I would, would like to know how those are handled in other jurisdictions too, if that's part of your request for information from other departments.
Chair Garcia and Board Member Brown, I'll get with the people that are conducting that study and see if that
Check with them.
fact can be included.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.